guys, we're discussing the Samurott Hisuian form from Pokemon Legends Arceus today and how to use it in competitive when this does a debut. So if you guys do enjoy that sort of content, of course, make sure to leave a like below and subscribe for more. I'm going to try and cover all the starters in the next 3 of these, which will be on today, Friday, and then the following Wednesday most likely. So make sure you stay tuned for that. With that said, though, we're starting off with Samurott, and then we're going to probably do Typhlosion into Decidueye to follow it up. You know, reverse order, because why not? But in the comments, I let the comments decide which one we were doing first for these, and they decided Samurott. So we're going to go with Samurott today. Samurott has a lot of usage, actually. I think, well, a lot of usable sets, I should say. Though I think it's probably going to be the weakest of the three. There's a lot of good ways you could use this Pokemon. So with that said, let's get started. So in terms of placeholder abilities, this Pokemon has Torrent and Shell Armor. All the starters actually have their same placeholder abilities, which is a bit bland if you ask me, but it is what it is. This Pokemon has 90 in HP, 108 attack, 80 defense, 100 special attack, 65 in Spadef, and 85 in speed. So it swaps the attack and special attack from Samurott, which already is actually a pretty big buff to it in my opinion. And then it loses 5 in each of its defensive stats in order to gain 15 more speed. So having an 85 speed is actually incredible against Pokemon. And I think that in hindsight, I think I might have rated this a bit low. Maybe it could actually be an RU Pokemon. And yeah, let's get into some sets you could use for this. First up though, we do have a Swords Dance variant with Swords Dance, Aqua Tail, Night Slash, and Aqua Jet. This set would basically function as just a budget Crawdaunt. And with Shell Armor, it's mostly just to avoid getting crit. However, with this sort of set, you could probably also go with Torrent. Either ability is really fine. Neither is going to make a huge difference. I'm kind of covering it, but you'll want to go with 29 IVs in HP. Yeah, so I'm kind of covering it, but it's 29 IVs in HP. This is mostly just to try and make sure that you're taking as little from life as possible. I discussed this in the Sneasler video if you guys watched that, but basically this is that within at max HP, you're taking 1 less damage per every single Life Orb hit. Or actually, you're just taking 1 damage less per every Life Orb hit in general, which is pretty huge. Because with this sort of set, you're starting off with 329 HP, which means you're taking 32 damage every single time you attack. So that's 32 damage, and by the end of 10 hits, you'll have 9 HP left. Whereas if you were to, let's say, go with 30 IVs, you would take 33 from 10 hits, and you would actually KO yourself. And with 31 IVs, you would end up with 1 HP left. So it's mostly just 7 that once you get down to like the 3 or 4 Life Orb hits left, 7 you're not as susceptible to priority. Which, especially this Pokemon being a dark type, you know, it's a bit weak to Mach Punch, helps a little bit in my opinion. This set as well, Aqua Jet is to give you a nice priority option. As I said, this is quite literally basically the Crawdaunt equivalent you can really get. And depending on the tier you use this Pokemon in, that could actually be pretty beneficial to it. Especially with having the 85 speed, whereas Crawdaunt has 55, this is a huge speed advantage. So moves like Night Slash and Aqua Tail will have a bit more reliability to them, unlike on Crawdaunt, where you're mostly clicking Aqua Jet unless you're fighting like an actual wall. So I think that's going to be pretty beneficial. In terms of natures, Adamant or Jolly both work fine. It really just depends on how the meta shapes up that you're using this Pokemon in. However, Jolly I think is just a better placeholder. It's just a blanket nature because with 85 speed, you're going to be able to outpace a lot of different Pokemon like with this. For example, you're going to tie with stuff like Nidoking, and then you're going to outpace Pokemon like Togekiss, for example. So being able to just go for a +2 Aqua Tail on Togekiss, no matter how fast it is, unless it's a Scarf set, should be pretty much in your favor, in my opinion. But with that said, let's get into a special variant, because I did want to cover special. So this would be the special set. It's also Life Orb. This is quite literally also just the exact same set, but this ends up losing the IVs in HP. And it cut it off a little bit, but that's also meant to cut out the IVs in attack. It's 0 attack and 29 HP. I got cut off a little bit, but just wanted to mention that. With this set, you're going Icy Wind, Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, and Dark Pulse. Now, Hisuian Samurott has no special setup option. However, with Icy Wind at the very least, you're able to get a speed drop, which then does enable your other 3 options pretty successfully, in my opinion. Shell Armor and Torrent, again, they're pretty interchangeable in this set. However, I feel like, unlike with the Swords Dance set, there's a little bit more merit to going with Shell Armor this time around. However, at the same time, though, with both variants, you're taking Life Orb damage, so you're kind of wearing yourself into Torrent range easily just by attacking. So there could be merit actually to going with Torrent on both variants. However, in my opinion, I personally just don't like the idea of getting crit with a Pokemon that's offensive as this, so figured why not. But with Icy Wind, though, you're basically using this as an enabler to try and make other moves do more damage and attack faster Pokemon more easily. Because you're just going to hit the speed drop on anything that's not a clear body Pokemon, which is pretty useful in my opinion. Especially for a Pokemon like Samurott that's not exactly the bulkiest, and it got even less bulky this time around. Because the dark typing, you're adding on just more weaknesses. This doesn't really help it defensively in any merit. Besides the fact that, of course, it gets a psychic immunity. It doesn't really cover any of water's weaknesses, and water doesn't really cover any of dark's weaknesses. So you just have a bunch more weaknesses this time around, unlike with regular Samurott, which had 5 more in every single defensive stat and only had pure water typing, which only has 2 weaknesses. So I think the shell armor is a bit more useful in this sort of regard. However, you could definitely make the case that Torrent is still the better option here, and either one honestly work. It's really just a matter of personal preference in my opinion. But basically though, with Water Pulse and with Hydro Pump and Dark Pulse, you're able to really just do a lot of damage to teams. Ice Beam is great for handling stuff such as mostly just for grass types, to be honest, which would threaten this thing super effectively. However, it's still really useful in general, just as a good coverage option, because Ice is just that good of a coverage option. So yeah, I mean, this is a really good set in my opinion for special. However, I think a physical will probably be the way to go personally. At least in singles, in my opinion. Maybe in VGC you'll see an Icy one variant pop up, but to be fair, by that point it'll probably also have stuff like Surf. It really just depends. With this set, because you're not going with priority, I would definitely recommend going Timid. I feel like it's kind of mandatory on a special variant. With physical, at least you can kind of get away with it, because you'll have options like, for example, Aqua Jet as priority, so it really just depends there. Next up, let's get into a choice Scarf set with Psycho Cut, Poison Jab, Night Slash, and Aqua Tail. Now, Poison Jab is mostly here because it covers both Fairy and Grass types, which are 2 types super effective against this Pokemon. Whereas something like Mega Horn, while you would do more damage to Grass types, you're losing out on that super effective option against Fairy, so I recommend the Poison Jab personally. Also, it doesn't have the chance to miss, which I think is really useful. On a Scarf variant, I figured instead of Aqua Jet, we may as well throw on Psycho Cut, because Psycho Cut would also help with the fighting weakness, so I figured that would be pretty useful. With this set, you're basically just trying to get the max speed that you can on this Pokemon, and then try and fire off one of your 4 really strong attacks. Albeit, sadly, you're missing out on stuff like Liquidation that a lot of other physical waters have. So, you're missing out on defense drop, and you're also giving yourself a chance to miss. Even with something like a Waterfall, you're missing out on the flinch chance here by running Aqua Tail. So while you do have a bit more damage, sadly this Pokemon does not have any of the really strong, reliable physical water moves, but it's still something. Night Slash is also really good here because you can get the high crit chance. However, again, just like with physical dark types, and just like with physical water types, you're missing out on the common coverage from physical dark types being knockoff. So it's kind of like just a lackluster Crawdaunt in this regard, because Crawdaunt does have both stuff like Waterfall, and I believe Liquidation too. I know there's one of the options, as well as knockoff. So you're kind of missing out in this regard. Unlike with the Swords Dance variant, I think you're going to matter a lot more with the Scarf variant for those sort of moves, but it is what it is. You'll still do a lot of damage with this, to be fair. It's base 108 attack, and it has a okay speed tier for a Scarf, especially in maybe like an RU tier. This could actually be a pretty decent Scarfer, but it really just depends on what the meta shapes up to be. On to the final set, though, we do have the Choice Banded variant, which I do think will be a bit more reliable. Now, for some reason, the EVs didn't read for this, but it's meant to be 252 attack, and just like with the last one, it has the 4 in Spadef. Sadly, the EVs didn't carry over. I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. With this set, though, you trade out Psycho Cut for Aqua Jet. You still want to keep on the Poison Jab because this covers 2 of the types that are super effective against you, whereas Psycho Cut really only handles 1, being Fighting type. So I figured that Poison Jab is still probably the most reliable coverage option if you're going to throw coverage on here. Also, Fairy type is such a common type in general in the metagame. Just no matter what tier you're playing or what format you're playing, Fairy is always something you need to be prepared for. So I feel like having Poison Jab here just for Fairies is really useful. With this set, though, you're basically just trying to break as well as possible. This would be really good on a web sort of team, in my opinion, because you're probably going to be having a little bit more difficult of a time clicking Aqua Jet. However, it is still here just in case if you're using this in the late game to just try and pick off your opponent as easily as possible. This sort of Hisuian Samurott, I feel like, is probably at least better than Scarf. However, I feel like the order would probably be SD, then Band, then Scarf, then Special, in my opinion, if I was to recommend these sets in a particular order. I just figured covering the Life Orb sets first made the most sense, and then going to the choice sets. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I'm looking forward to covering the other 2 starter Pokemon. If you guys did enjoy this, make sure, of course, you leave a like on the video. It really helps a lot, and it shows me that you want to see more of this type of content. Subscribe if you're new, because obviously it just helps you stay notified of videos to come. And with that said, I will see you guys on tomorrow's video, which is going to be the start of our VGC Road to Ranked, or if you're here mostly for the Legends Arceus content, I will see you here on Friday, which we'll be going over how to use Hisuian Typhlosion. So until then, I would like to, of course, give a huge shout out to our channel members, being Zeke Zero, Josh aka Ultra Player, Rika Hoshizora, Mia, Randy Chappa, and Pokemon Fan the Majestic Xerneas. Appreciate you guys a lot with your support on the channel. It means the world. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Peace out, guys.